So everyone, here we are. We're back here. We're here recording Flip It Off. I think it's this is our 6th time doing this. Our 6th recording, 6th video, 6th show. It's been a while since we've been here. We're back though. We had I know the last one took a while for us to post it there. We just got it a few days ago. We sat down here Easter weekend last with Kyle. Now, that's about 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks and a few days, but last weekend we were actually at the Blue Jays game, and that was an experience with the new stadium. So a lot's happened, huh? We've been to a game, we've played golf, the Leafs playoffs are in full swing, and what's new?
Just like you said, been off for a couple of weeks, just been enjoying life, living life to the fullest, watching the Jays. Hoping the Leafs will do good in the game tonight, and that's pretty much about it. Yeah.
I think last time we sat down here, there might have even still been a little bit of snow on the ground, and then since then we had a summer week, and then we've also had a regular spring week. That's that summer weather we had the week before, or last week I guess it was, whatever. That's when we went to the game. I can't believe the dome was wide open in April. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, I think they actually broke records with that. Yeah. It was pretty awesome to be there with the dome open. Yeah, it was
Kevin
good.
Kiermaier must have liked it.
Yeah, crazy catch.
Everyone on the Corona rooftop patio was enjoying it.
Yeah, exactly.
With the dome open, but don't get used to it. The dome will be closed for a few more weeks now that we're back to seasonal, and then come mid-May they'll open it and the balls will start carrying. So
got that right. More home runs, more dingers, right?
That's how it goes normally, but so that new stadium and everything, I know everything's been hyped up so much. You know what? So we got there. We checked out the outfield district a little bit, but we ended up going to the WestJet flight deck. Of all the places in the outfield, it's still the best.
Absolutely.
And it's not as crowded because there's all the new spots. But yeah, the flight deck, you get a spot right on the rail. You have a great view. It's a fun spot to be. Look at the catch bar, the rooftop patio, all these places. It's they're so crowded and only a few people can actually see. It's not really for hardcore fans. It's more for people that are just looking for something to do and a fun way to spend an afternoon, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what they're trying to do, I guess, to grow the game. But
exactly, and I'm just going to add on that. They wanted the fans closer to the players and the atmosphere, right?
And that's what they did with the bullpen seating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Still can't believe they actually did that. It's they're waiting for something to happen, but that's why they got security there.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully no beer cans will be thrown on our side.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's that. And we didn't get to check out any of the new spots during the game, really. Crowded, can't see as well. We got to sit in the flight deck, or stand, I should say. Now, we wanted to actually go to our seats, but the games are so fast these days because of that pitch clock that by the time we wanted to go back, it was already the 6th inning and there was no point in moving. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little unfortunate with the pitch clock, but I get it.
That was a big game, though. The boys are rolling. We'll talk about that a little later. It's been the Blue Jays are off to a good start, I think. It's been a couple weeks since we've been here, and that's kind of what we were talking about, but they haven't been spectacular. They haven't been sweeping series, but they've been winning every series except for 2.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's important. If the Rays get off to their great start, but then they finally play the Blue Jays, they lose 2 out of 3, right?
Yeah, exactly. You can't ask for much more than that, right?
Yeah. If down the stretch they keep playing like that, consistently winning series, eventually they'll catch up to the Rays, and it'll be a great record. So
I can't agree more.
Anyway, that's that. But also going on tonight, we've got Game 4 of the Leafs and Lightning.
Let's go Leafs.
Yeah.
Big game for the boys in Tampa.
Biggest swing game of any series, right? Game 4. You always say that it either goes 2-2 or it goes 3-1.
In our case, we wanted to go 3-1.
Yeah. Well, and every time, last year they had a chance to go up 3-1. They couldn't. They could have gone up 3-1 over the Bruins 2019. They couldn't, right? But we haven't really talked about the Leafs too much on here. Reason being, because we were in the last few weeks of the regular season, and there was nothing to talk about because we knew we were playing the Lightning in the playoffs. So it's honestly, before the playoffs, I haven't watched the Leafs as much down the stretch just because there's always been other stuff on or whatnot, and even games that I was watching there since Christmas towards I guess really since the trade deadline is really when I feel like I haven't watched as much, but even the games you watch, it's hard to care about it to the same extent when you know that the way the last few years have ended, nothing matters until you get to the playoffs. Not to mention, we already knew the team we were going to play, and it's going to be the same one, the same team, no matter how well you finish the season.
Exactly.
That's the NHL's playoff format. We're stuck playing the Lightning again. Home ice advantage is important, and we did get that higher seed, way more points than them in the regular season had. I don't even think they got 100, or they got 102.
Yeah, if that.
So,
Leafs were in the higher seed.
Again, sure. Leafs are the heavy favorite, but as we learned last year, that means nothing when you're playing a team that's been in the finals 3 years in a row.
And won 2 Stanley Cups.
Yeah, I didn't want to really get into it too much and late in the season, and just because it's even more fun watching it this year, just because you don't care as much, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know.
They go far, but
some people went through this already with losing to the Canadiens, but last year it was do or die, right? They lost that series to the Canadiens that they had no business losing.
Yeah, exactly.
And then last year it's okay, it's like the Raptors heading into 2019. Now you learn nothing of this team is disappointed in the playoffs. Now you just need to get there. And then they had an even better season. They set a franchise record for most points. Higher seed over the Lightning. There was no reason in my mind for them to have lost that series, even with the success that the Lightning had in the playoffs, because the Leafs players, they knew they needed it. It's now or never. We need to win this. Otherwise, what's going to happen? I can't even, I don't even want to think about what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
At least that was my attitude last year.
Yeah.
It was do or die. Losing isn't an option. The Lightning, if they lose, who cares? They already won 2 straight cups. The Leafs, if they lose, oh man, it's the end of the world.
See you,
The city's going to be rioting. Everything's going to be wrong. The world's going to end. But then, you know what? Having thought all that, the toll that it takes on you watching all those games with so much emotion, knowing that so much is at stake, and then they lose the series, and everything that you thought could go wrong went wrong, But then, you wake up the next day, and you know what? Life is back to normal, It's just another loss. The rest of the league keeps going. Your everyday life is still the same. The city of Toronto still exists, even though their team is out of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of puts things into perspective. Why do we care so much? It's just a game. It really makes you think the world didn't end, did it? You thought we had to win, but then at the end of the day, it's oh, well, I guess it's just a hockey game. I don't know. It's just a loss. So I went through all that last year, and that's why it was hard to care about it to the same extent this year, but it's good in a way, because, it's so hard going through that every year after year. Now it's of course I want them to win the Stanley Cup, but if they lose in the first round, who really cares, huh? What do you think?
Well, obviously you want to see them go past the first round, and if they do, then it's worth watching, You got to see them go past the
But
first
it's not
round
worth getting too upset if they lose, because it's
no, you're used to it.
Last year it peaked. You can't really...
Yeah.
The toll that it took on you, the disappointment that we went through last year, it can't really get much worse than that. So at this point, it's whatever happens, happens.
Exactly.
Love to win, but anyway, and if they do lose, again, up 2-1 in the series, they lost that first game, which, again, it's kind of good going through this with this mindset. Otherwise, oh my God, imagine after game 1.
Yeah, exactly.
How unhappy we would have been.
Yeah, for sure.
I just kind of laughed, oh man, is this going to happen? Hey, maybe it's a good thing. We lose game 1 and then come back to win the series. Mm-hmm. Of course, they could still lose in game 7. We've seen the Leafs have lost against the Lightning and Bruins series where they won every game. They'd win a game, then the other team ties it, then they win a game, and then the other team ties it.
Yeah.
It goes that way until they're up 3-2, and then the other team wins 2 straight to win in 7.
Yeah, exactly. That's not the case this year. 2
hard-fought series against the Lightning and Bruins. They lose in that fashion. They've lost series against the Bruins where they go down 3-1, come back to force a game 7, and then lose in 7. And they've also lost a series where they were up 3-1, and then the other team came back to lose in 7.
Yeah.
So you know what? They can't really find any more ways to lose a 7-game series. They've lost one in about every way possible. So, maybe it's whatever. They lose game 1.
A bounce-back game, right?
You go through it year after year. Eventually, you think the luck has to turn around. And yeah, the Leafs this year, they're just as desperate. They still know, because if last year was now or never, now it's even more so. So they came back with that desperation. Game 2, they won. Game 3, maybe they didn't play the best, but that was a fantastic game, and they win in overtime. to take the series lead, which is huge because now they're in that situation where they can force a 3-1 lead. And again, it's important because Game 4 is such a crucial game. Being up 3-1 versus tied 2-2 is a pretty big difference. So, I mean, by the time you guys are listening to this, the game will have already happened. So we'll see how it goes. But
fingers crossed for the Leafs.
Tonight, I mean, every game's huge, but Game 4, what do you think? What are your expectations for tonight?
Well, Leafs got to come out big. They got to win the game, especially because they're in Tampa, and bring it back to Toronto and say, "See you, Lightning. Let's go to the second round." That's what I think. So,
yeah, and I think that's important. Coming back home with a 3-1 lead, again, they've done it before, but maybe this team's more mature.
Hopefully that's the case.
Yeah,
right?
like you got to play like you want that, right? And last year, like every time they'd win a game, it would look great, and then the next game they'd just come out not as strong.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they just can't take their foot off the gas. They've got to keep playing. They're the better team, so show it. Like if both teams are giving it 110%, playing with the same urgency, which the Lightning don't have the same sense of urgency. Their team's probably past their peak. They won their 2 Stanley Cups. They lost in the finals, and now they're playing a team that's better than them, that's more desperate than them. No reason for the Leafs not to win. So let's see if they can perform.
Yeah, let's get it, boys. Come on.
Yeah, we've seen the big names, struggle in the playoffs, and coaching too. Keefe's done some questionable things even in Game 1, but luckily Matthews got more ice time in the last couple games, and it's good to see. On that note with Keefe, like if the Leafs do lose, hope it doesn't happen, but if they do, not the end of the world. I think Dubas has to be fired, don't you?
Yeah, for sure. Like he's done these great trades over the years, but they haven't gone anywhere. So
not necessarily his fault, but like
no, exactly.
He's built this team and he's done just about everything he can with this team to try and improve them, or he's done everything he can around this core to try and make the team better. And year after year, it just hasn't worked. So whether it's his fault or not, like if they lose, it's time for a change.
Yeah.
Keeps going with them just because he's his boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe Shanahan.
Yeah, the Shanahan plan.
The Shanahan plan for the eighth year. But yeah, there's that. And then if maybe if they fire Dubas, Brian Burke's available. The Penguins fired him.
Speaking of Brian Burke, yeah, exactly. Like that'd be a huge pickup.
That'd be funny.
Yeah, exactly.
He drafted. No, I guess he didn't draft Luke Schenn, but they gave Luke Schenn a second chance with the Leaf, and he played on the team with Brian Burke. Give Brian Burke a second chance. He was as dedicated to building a good team as anyone,
Absolutely.
And he didn't really get the opportunity to see it fully come to fruition. Like it was his team that made the playoffs in 2013.
Yep.
And then the team kind of fell apart. So we'll see. And he himself, a few years ago, I think it was on Spit and Chicklets podcast, maybe it was on Sportsnet, I don't know. He was quoted saying, like, the way the Leafs team is built right now is just a team that isn't built to win. He can't picture it. And it's hard to believe that, looking at how good of a team they were. But you've seen their playoff results the last 2 years, and you wonder, maybe he was onto something.
Yeah, exactly.
So that'll be interesting to see. Now, speaking of firings, I know you wanted to mention the Raptors have fired Nick Nurse.
Yeah, what are your takes on that?
I mean, I'm not too surprised or disappointed. I know there was some talk towards the end of the season. He himself hinted that he might not be coming back. Now, I think there was already speculation. Him and Masai Ujiri probably talked about it, and he knew it was going to happen if they didn't go far. But I mean, like he won the championship, and he has one of the winningest records in Raptors coach's history. But he had a great team that first year that they won. Second year, also a pretty good team.
Yeah.
And then he started to face some more adversity and stuff. And I think the last couple of years, you have to wonder, like maybe he's not all that as good of a coach as we thought he was.
Yeah.
Coaching a great team, it works great. But when he's coaching a team that's not as skilled, maybe he doesn't thrive as much. So
this is what I think. He's been with the Raptors for 10 years. Like you said, his track record doesn't lie. Won a championship, coach of the year, has a great leading record versus loss, right? Mm-hmm. So, but then he comes down to this, I heard they had some confrontation with some of the assistant coaches over the season, and he actually sent one of the coaches home without approval from Masai Ujiri.
Yeah, and that seems a little odd for somebody
so maybe that's probably why that probably didn't help his case in the end, but you never know, right? I think they need a change too, right? In a way. But in another way, you kind of wish he's still here because he won the championship.
And some of the things he's done, you don't question it when they're winning, but when the team's losing, then you do start to question some of his tactics, like benching.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, he overplays some of his best players, and then they're all burnt out. They start getting weird injuries, and then guys like I'm just gonna say Flynn, for example.
Yeah,
Like,
great player.
Sometimes he plays big minutes and he does stuff, and then like more than half the time he never plays.
Exactly.
So what's with that? Like, why doesn't he play him?
Yeah, I couldn't answer that, to be honest. Like,
Well, like Thad Young, another guy. Like, I mean, I don't know. I didn't watch the Raptors as much this year as I could have just because of the results. But Thad Young is a guy who they brought in last year because of his veteran presence, and then he doesn't play much.
Yeah.
So, yeah, those things are definitely questionable.
You're going to see a lot of trades happen this year, and especially like big names coming in, big names leaving. But Scotty Barnes is untouchable, apparently.
Hopefully Van Vliet stays and Siakam, but I know both of them aren't untouchable at this point. So.
Exactly. Anything's possible for this team in the future, right?
Yeah, and on that note, so, obviously it wasn't a great season, but we talked about the play-in series last episode, how it seems kind of pointless, but either way, happy they were in it, and we both watched that game, but it was a pretty tough way to lose a game. But what do you think? DeMar DeRozan's daughter, MVP?
Screaming MVP. Yeah, she's crazy.
I mean, they blew a huge lead, but like if they had have made like just 60% of their free throws in that game, they would have easily won, and 60% is pretty bad.
Yeah, like I think it's kind of disrespectful for a player's daughter that he used to play here and now he's on another team and she's
disrespectful for anyone to behave like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let alone.
Yeah, exactly, and that was uncalled for.
Yeah, I think it was.
And for her to back him up like that, that's
unclassy. I don't know if DeMar told her to do that or not, but
well, I actually heard like he took her out of school that day to come watch a game,
and then he didn't take her out of school to go to the next game. So that's
he's
like,
trying to prove a point.
In Toronto, I played here, so they'll be okay with it. Because if you're the security, like what can you do? Like it looks bad on kicking out the 8-year-old daughter of a player who played for your team for like 8 years.
Yeah,
but at the same time, that was people say, like, whatever, they're professionals. They shouldn't be bothered by that. It's like, they clearly were. They shot less than 50% from the free throw line.
Yeah, that's
what
ridiculous.
Cost them the game.
Yeah.
And this screaming was happening the whole game. I mean, I don't know what it was at first. Like, someone might have had... I thought someone was pressing a button maybe or something. Because how can somebody scream that many times?
Yeah.
And then it continued in the second half. It's like, oh, there's somebody at both ends. But no, it was just her screaming from the other end so loud that you could hear it still.
Yeah, exactly. Uncalled for.
Yeah. So I just think, like, you say, professionals shouldn't be affected by that. But you know what? Like, background noise is one thing. People banging on things, people constantly yelling and stuff. Like, they know how to handle that because it's background noise. You can block it out, and they practice for it. They train for that. They're used to it.
Of course.
But someone screaming in that sense, basically right as you're shooting it, right?
And on purpose.
Yeah. Different making noise, while the person's lining up to shoot versus timing it for just a quick and sudden noise right as they're shooting. It's a huge distraction.
Absolutely.
Like in golf, stuff like that isn't allowed.
Yeah, you should be talking to the teeing off, right?
Exactly. So like even as professionals, they're prepared to block out noise, loud noise, but something like that's so sudden, so loud, and it's it's like you don't hear it. You can kind of plan for it, but you don't know exactly when she's going to scream sometime while you're releasing it.
Yeah,
it just throws you off. And I even saw with Pirtle at one point, he actually, while he was in his position to shoot it, he held the ball for a second longer so that she screamed, and then he kind of psyched her out. He still had it.
Yeah.
But then he ended up shooting, and I think she tried to scream again. But either way, the fact that he's doing that is clearly throwing off his rhythm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think if any other fan was doing that, security would have been telling them to shut up, maybe kick them out, but when it's the daughter of a former player on your team, it's kind of hard for them. So,
absolutely, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that was
kind
of
easy
disrespectful.
Situation.
I don't, even though she's 8 years old and whatever, I mean, it's like you said, maybe DeMar told her to do that, or maybe if he didn't, after the game, he should tell her, don't do that.
But
or
he did the exact opposite.
You would think she would know how to behave before coming, but it clearly had an impact on the game. So
yeah, for sure.
I mean, they blew a huge lead and everything, and I'm not that disappointed because if they had have won the play-in series, they would have played the Bucks anyway, most likely. But it's just kind of a disappointing way to lose a game that you were up by 20 in. Obviously, they couldn't make any free throws, and there was a direct correlation.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was that, but I just wanted to talk about that because that's definitely something that we both noticed and that bothered us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
as a fan, you're kind of ticked off of it,
Yeah, and everyone who says that they shouldn't be impacted by that, just put yourself in their position. Try to shoot while somebody's doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, that's that. Now, as for other stuff, I mean, we got the OHL playoffs in full swing still. I know we've been talking about that a little bit, but yeah, the Colts were playing the Bulldogs last time we were here. They won that series in 6 games. They bounced back. Now they're playing North Bay, which second seed versus third seed, but that third seed in Barrie was like the hottest team in the league down the stretch.
Yeah.
So great series it's been, back and forth. And it's a big playoff rivalry too. North Bay's had Barrie's number in the playoffs the last few years, ever since they got that team about 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. They always beat them in the playoffs. But yeah, Barrie won game 1, North Bay won game 2, and then Barrie won game 3 back at home. Game 4, they were winning 3-1, chance to go up 3-1 in the series, just like the Leafs do tonight. And then the Battalion ended up coming back, tying that game and winning in double overtime.
Yeah, that was crazy.
So that's, again, why game 4 is so important in any series.
Yeah.
That's the swing game. Like,
it's the termination of the series.
They had their chance to take a commanding lead in the series. They blew a 3-1 third period lead. North Bay comes back to win that game. They go back home tied. All of a sudden they have the momentum.
Exactly.
So anyway, now they have game 6 tonight as well. Another huge game tonight. North Bay is up 3-2. So another huge game the Colts need to win to stay alive.
Yeah,
so
that's for sure.
I'll be watching that game too. And then we had similar series, Peterborough versus Ottawa, the other series in the Eastern Conference. Yeah, I mean, Peterborough, the 4th seed, Ottawa, best team in the OHL. But Peterborough took a 3-1 series lead in that series. So that's huge for them. Imagine if Barrie and Peterborough played in the conference final. I'd definitely be going to some of those games. But yeah, but then Ottawa won game 5. So now, they've got some momentum. That could go to 7 if they win tonight.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Again, huge games in the OHL tonight as well as the NHL. Not to mention, of course, the Blue Jays are playing too.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
can't forget about them.
yeah, and then the Western Conference of the OHL, their 2 series are already over, so the Western Conference final is already determined. It's going to be London versus Sarnia. So that's a classic rivalry. Battle of the 402.
Mm-hmm.
Southwestern Ontario.
Yeah.
So, yeah, another big rivalry. That's going to be fun. And then interesting to see how things go in the East. So, I'll be watching all those games.
Oh, I know you will be.
Yeah. And then, also we had the Women's World Hockey Championships, which we talked about. That ended. It ended last weekend.
Yeah.
So Canada gets the silver medal. What do you think?
I think I'm kind of happy with that. Obviously, you want them to win gold, but silver's so...
Can't win gold every year.
Exactly. So they play good and they deserve what they won, right?
It's a good tournament on home soil and...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Prove themselves.
Yeah. And for the U.S., yes, either Canada or the U.S. wins almost every time, but luckily for Canada, we do have the last Olympic gold, and they've won the last couple World Championships, so the Americans winning it this year isn't a huge blow. Bottom line, it was a great game, as always, and then as for the rest of the tournament, it's good to see everybody talking about, it's been a problem the last 30 years, ever since women's hockey was in the Olympics, that Canada and the U.S. are so much better than everyone else. And anyone who thinks, the rest of the world needs to catch up, they're not getting better fast enough, think of how much, it's not like they're catching up to Canada and USA's level. Canada and USA, think of how far women's hockey's come in these countries in the last 30 years. Yeah. Sweden, Finland, Switzerland, they're probably better than Canada and the USA were in 1990.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
Canada and USA, it's been growing just as fast in these countries as it is anywhere else. So, that's why it takes time for the rest of the world to catch up, considering that our teams are rapidly improving as well at the highest level. Mm-hmm. So, you might think it's not much progress, but it is. Only 30 years that this sport's really existed at the international highest level. And to think how much they've, there were a lot of blowouts with Canada, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the blowouts, they're winning games 5-0, 5-1, 4-0, 5-2. 10 years ago, it would have been 11-0, 13-1.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's they're winning games by what you might consider a blowout, but it's relatively close compared to where it used to be. And then Sweden, great to see. Again, when people say these other countries need to get better, hey, don't be careful what you wish for, because then the moment one of them beats you,
could be in the finals, could be in the quarterfinals,
Canada had a scare against Sweden in the quarterfinals, which you love to see it because it means everyone's coming a long way. Like Sweden's come a long way and it's competitive.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would have sucked to see Canada lose in the quarterfinals. So
yeah,
everyone complaining about these other countries not being good enough, like be careful what you wish for. They could have beat us in that game.
They're up there with everyone else.
Yeah, it went into overtime.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, Finland, the last, 10 years has usually been the only team that's kind of able to knock on the door with Canada and the US, but
yeah,
I know they didn't do as well in the last couple World Championships, so hopefully they can turn it around. And a team not even in the tournament, Slovakia, they have, I think, a 15-year-old who's like
wow.
a phenom.
That's incredible.
So that team didn't even qualify, but in the next few years, look out for them. Like, imagine if the best female hockey player in the world isn't Canadian or American. It could very well be the case with this phenom.
Yeah, for sure.
Her name is Nella. I have no idea what her last name is. One day we'll know it, though.
Yeah, for sure.
You bet.
We'll see her on a highlight.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that. Canada, silver medal. I think still something to be proud of. USA, congratulations to them.
Yep.
Hillary Knight, just as much of an American legend as Poulin is a Canadian legend.
Yep, for sure.
So, yeah, that's that. And then, we'll get into the Blue Jays in a few minutes, but what are your thoughts on, aside from the Leafs, we've got some more series happening in the NHL playoffs. What are your thoughts on some of the other series?
I haven't really paid, a ton of attention to the other series, except for, Winnipeg and Vegas, or,
Okay.
Right? I haven't seen a lot of the series besides the Leafs and Winnipeg.
Yeah.
I know, Edmonton, are they up in their series, correct?
It's tied. They tied it last night.
Tied,
that was another huge game in LA.
So that's a neck and neck series, and then
Yeah, it will be.
You want to see at least the Leafs, the Oilers, or the Jets move on to at least the second or third round, right?
Yeah.
Right? You want to see a Canadian team go far.
For the Jets, it's a little bit more of a stretch, being the whatever wild card team, whatever they call it in this.
The underdog, though, right?
Underdog.
Right. So.
Yeah, but with this stupid format again, if let's say the Leafs and Oilers both lose the first round, I probably won't be watching much playoffs after this. But
me either.
The last few years, it's been the case. Just with this format, it's hard to. I find after the teams you care about lose, I don't like it. I know there's a lot of sports fans out there who are just casual hockey fans, and they love the NHL playoffs because anything can happen. They say the NHL has the best playoffs, but they like it because anything can happen. Whereas I see it as, if the regular season doesn't mean anything, then why do we have it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, bottom line, there's a few good series happening. I know the Oilers, it's just as big for them as it is for the Leafs. I know they didn't have... They went on a huge run down the stretch, right?
Yeah, they did.
Which, the last few years they've done that. They're always a second half team.
Yeah, which is big.
Yeah. Because even though, it would be nice if they played like that the full season, but the way that you want to be the hottest team going into the playoffs, because it's the hottest team that wins the cup, right? Not the best team.
And you want to see Edmonton go far, especially after McDavid's regular season points.
Bottom line,
stats, right?
aside from this year, their team hasn't had the success maybe in the regular season that the Leafs have had. But other than that, but that's one player.
I know, exactly.
But, it's just as urgent for them as it is for the Leafs. Look at McDavid and Draisaitl. They haven't won much. Now, they've gone to the second round multiple times. They went to the conference finals last year. That the Leafs haven't.
Yeah.
But in terms of winning cups, them with those guys, it's just as urgent. So, yeah, I look forward to watching their games too. Hopefully they go on a deep run. Again, we'd love to see Connor McDavid bring the Stanley Cup to Newmarket.
Yeah, that'd be
We saw
special.
Robert Thomas bring it to Aurora a few years ago.
2019.
Yep. Yeah, I still remember being there, and funny, one of the biggest things that I remember about that was seeing the gentleman who lives down the street there.
Oh, yeah.
With no shirt on.
Yeah, exactly. Tarps off.
Yeah, but funny that's what I remember first and not actually seeing the cup. But bottom line, hopefully we get to see it in Newmarket when Connor McDavid brings it back. If not, maybe the Leafs will win and we get to,
see,
let's say,
Bunting.
Go to Scarborough, go to Thornhill to see Marner lift it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd say go to Newmarket for Dermott, but he's not there anymore. So,
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, there's plenty of guys from Ontario on that roster too, so we'll get to see the Stanley Cup hoisted somewhere close to home if the Leafs win.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, anyway, on that note, with we've talked a lot about the Blue Jays playoff exit last year and how disappointing it was. And now we've talked all about the Leafs and how they need to win and, their playoff exit. In general, we've talked about, when I was younger, all of the Toronto sports teams used to suck. It was kind of how it was. And then now, the last few years, for a while now, all of Toronto's teams are pretty good during the regular season. But in the playoffs, only our red Toronto teams seem to have success. The blue Toronto teams, which traditionally, like the Leafs, Blue Jays, and Argos, those are our original teams. Well, I guess the Argos have won, but Leafs and Blue Jays, on the other hand, have not had any success.
No.
So, I don't know, it made me think, after last year, what do you think was more disappointing? The Leafs losing in the first round or the Blue Jays losing in the wild card series?
For the viewers watching this, I'm going to say the Jays, because I'm a big Jays fan, and my money was on them to win before the Leafs in the next few years, so it was pretty disappointing to see the Jays lose in the wild card last year. That was definitely more disappointing for me.
Yeah, I can't even really answer that, because they're both disappointing in their own ways, and you can't really compare them. They're so different. I know a lot of people, like I said, the year before with the Leafs, they'd already gone through that phase of they just didn't care anymore. I hadn't gone through that. To me, last year was as important as anything, and they lost. Mm-hmm. But then the Blue Jays, same thing. Same mindset. You have to, I guess, realize that it's just a game. But, I guess the difference is the Blue Jays are still on the uprise, still getting better.
Yep.
The Leafs last year, just as much as ever, was win now mode. So, I think in that sense, the Leafs was definitely a little more disappointing, but they both were, so...
Yeah, for sure.
Again, the Toronto's blue teams, which, come on, those are...
One of them's got to win. And hopefully...
Traditionally, all of Toronto's teams used to be blue. Now, our blue teams can't win in the playoffs, and our red teams can.
It's like a blue team curse almost.
Yeah, it's a blue team curse. The teams in Toronto that I care about the most don't win. So I don't know about you, but...
Yeah, no.
That seems to be how it is.
It kind of hurts when the blue teams don't win.
Yeah.
Especially the Leafs, we talked about the first round exit and the Jays with the wild card last year, right?
Let's say you're a Toronto Raptors and Toronto FC super fan. Even with the Raptors, the last year, the way the season went this year, the way they lost in the first round last year, and then the Toronto FC, the way that they've won their championship and gone to the finals, even though I think last year wasn't great for them. If you're a fan of those two teams, you've got to be pretty happy. You've got all these championships the last few years, great teams.
For sure.
And then it's if you like Toronto's biggest blue teams, it doesn't go that way.
Yeah.
I don't know, one of them's got to win first. Leafs or Blue Jays this year, maybe both. Both teams,
That'll be pretty
same expectations.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, on that note, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. But for now, I think it's about time we finally get into the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
We've been going a while now, but...
Mm-hmm.
Lots happened since we were last here, but like I said, we're winning series, right? Which they lost the first series to the Cardinals, disappointment, whatever, and then they lost to the Astros. The series against the Astros, I know that third game they really left on the table, right?
Yeah,
they
exactly.
had the bases loaded with nobody out and down by one, couldn't tie it.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, but other than that, you hate to lose a game like that, but are there any games that stand out to you this year that they lost that they really should have won? To me, that's one of them.
Yeah, I agree. Other games, they've been pretty, good for the Jays in the most part, but, maybe, one game against Tampa Bay, or...
Yeah.
I think there's one game there that they could have won and they didn't.
Yeah, and, it would have been a huge statement for the Rays, undefeated, to come in here and get swept. We still got the series win, but it would have been that much better to get the sweep against them.
Or even back to the Detroit series. We could have swept them, and we didn't.
Yeah, they could have. Detroit and Kansas City. I understand what you mean. Not good teams.
Yeah, exactly.
So it would have been nice to sweep them. But like I said, at the end of the day, if you win every series, you're going to have a great record. So
I can't agree more.
If they keep playing at that rate, as long as we don't have any losing streaks, right? That's not what we want.
You want consistent winning baseball.
And then for every series that you lose, you sweep another one, right?
Right, exactly.
So the sweeps are going to come, and they're playing a lot better now. I know the pitching... that first week didn't live up to what we thought it did. It's been, I think, every Blue Jays starting pitcher has had their ups and downs this year. Even though they're only 3 or 4 outings in, it's kind of crazy. I think every pitcher's had 4 starts, right? They're on their 5th now.
I believe so, yeah.
But Manoah, he had, his last outing was great. I think everybody's on the upwards trend, which is good.
Yeah,
but
like Kikuchi and Barrios. They've been kind of finding their result.
Yeah, they have. And Barrios, it's important. His first start this year, he pitched well at times, but overall it was a bad outing.
Yeah.
And then he had another one that wasn't so good, right?
Right.
But then his third, he was good. He went 5 innings. He could have gone longer if he didn't come out. He only gave up 1 run.
Yeah, too bad
he
he
came
got
out because he
injured.
was injured. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, exactly.
And then his last start was fantastic. Looked like the old Barrios. So hopefully that's what we see from him.
And Kikuchi.
Kikuchi's been one of the most consistent, in fact. He had 1 outing, his second. Who was that against? Was that the Royals?
I think it was, yeah.
Might have been, yeah.
Might have been the Royals or another team.
That was his only start. That really, or no, might have been, who'd they play after that? That was the Angels.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, that was his only start that wasn't so good. The rest of them have been. We saw him last Saturday, and he looked really good.
Yeah, he looked great.
And Schneider trusted him. He'd thrown 80-something pitches, right, through 5. And then he left him in to start the 6th, and he got out of it, no runs.
Yeah.
That's a situation where I think if it was his first start of the season and we didn't know what to expect from him, Schneider might have taken him out after 85 pitches.
Absolutely. You sign a guy like Kikuchi for 3 years, $36 million. Yeah. He's not doing so good his first year, and then this year, he needs to have a bounce back year, right?
And, I was worried that he wouldn't. We didn't know what to expect from him. It's great to see this, and great to see that he's got the trust of his manager and his teammates again.
Yeah, it makes your confidence level go from this to this, right?
So all of our pitchers, Kikuchi's been probably the most consistent. Hasn't been spectacular, but he's only had 1 bad outing, and it wasn't terrible.
Awful, just kind of...
Yeah, so, it's good to see from him. And if he's your worst, look at Barrios on the upwards trend. Manoah, he's concerned us. His first start and the home opener start were both bad. So you wonder about if the pressure gets to him. His middle start was great, right?
Yep.
And then he had that start against Tampa, when they tried to sweep. He was not looking good in that start either.
No.
So I don't know what's, he's got to work with Pete Walker and figure out whatever it is. I know that he will, but... That start against the Yankees on Saturday, he goes 7 innings shut out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, or no, he gave up 1. He gave up 1, I think. But, yeah, that's great to see. Great to see from Manoah. So everybody's on the upwards trend. And then Gosman's been the best so far.
Guy's unreal.
He had 1 bad outing in his second against... it was against the Astros, right? I think that was his second outing.
Yeah.
Was it that?
Yeah,
it was the Astros.
Yeah,
it was his third outing, I think. It was his one before last.
Yeah.
So he was coming off his only bad outing of the season, and then his last one was one of his best, right? He
7 innings pitched.
7 innings shut out.
Maybe 3 hits.
Yeah.
No runs allowed. You can't ask more from him.
All of our pitchers have had their ups and downs, which is crazy to think, being so short into the season.
Yep.
But they're all on the upwards trend, I feel like.
Next level pitching.
So that's good to see. That's what we want from them.
Yep.
What about the bullpen? How do you think they've been doing compared to your expectations?
Simber's been great. Sucks he's on the injured list now for 15 days. But, Romano, you want him in your safe situation, right? He's your best closer or only closer, really. Richards, he's been pretty decent.
He's been better than last year, which is good. He's been reliable and not a late inning, high leverage guy, but he's a guy that can get you some innings when you need them.
What do you think about Garcia?
I mean, he hasn't been as good as last year. Even last year, I know his stats were great, but he never really looked as solid as some of the other guys do. He got the job done, and then this year he's had some outings that he's done the job, but overall he hasn't been as good.
Right.
So I think the guys that have really not lived up to what they're supposed to so far, or who have disappointed, I think Garcia, Bass especially, which
I was gonna get in.
I think that he'll find it sooner or later. He's not gonna stay like this for good.
Look at the season he had last year, right?
Yeah.
He's got to continue that with the Jays.
Now Simber, I know you mentioned doing well, which I think his first couple outings he was, but I think the last few he's given up runs, right?
Yeah, but maybe that's part of his injury. Or maybe he wasn't playing the best.
You never know, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that could be part of it. Mm-hmm. Again, there's always going to be one guy who's struggling, so I don't think it's the end of the world. And yeah, hopefully Simber. I mean, his outing before that, he was thrown into a tough situation with Pop. Pop has been great so far.
Yeah,
he's exceeded his expectations.
Yep.
He just had that one appearance. The game that they let get away from them against the Astros, after they couldn't tie it, Pop came in and with 2 outs kind of laid an egg.
Yeah.
And then Simber came in to clean it up and couldn't, which tough situation to be thrown into.
Right.
Otherwise, I think everyone's been good. Pop is really impressed. Richards has been better than last year. Romano, he had the 1 bad outing against the Angels. He blew the 3-run save, all with 2 outs. That was out of character. Other than that, he's been as good as ever. I trust him fully.
Yeah.
I know he got the loss against the Yankees on Saturday, but that's not the end of the world. Like, he gave up one run. They put him in a situation that he's not used to. So
yeah, exactly. You're not gonna win every game or close every game perfect, right?
Yeah.
You're either gonna save and win the game, or you're gonna lose, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't expect to win all the
So
time.
I think
even if
Gibby
you want
has
to.
high praise for Romano. I think he's.
Yeah.
I don't worry about him at all. I think he's getting the job done, and he will continue to.
Yeah.
And who else? Swanson's been great. I mean, we expect him to be because they gave up Teo for him, but
yeah, exactly.
he's done what he's supposed to so far. So love to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, as for that, how do you think the hitting's been
Pretty solid. Like, look at Matt Chapman.
lately? Yeah,
He's been on a tear.
I know at the start, 1 week into the season when we started talking about it, the bats were kind of struggling. They were scaring us. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
They still haven't been hitting the home runs like in other years, but they're getting runs, right? And the home runs will come, when they start opening the dome at Rogers Center.
Oh, yeah. Fans get into it.
Yeah. I think the bats have really come alive the last couple weeks compared to the first week. Obviously, Chapman is having a great start.
Yeah, Guerrero's starting to heat up, too.
Defensively with Chapman, plus what he's doing at the plate, he's in the MVP conversation right now.
Absolutely.
We know we won't keep it up
Never
at
know.
that rate, but if he finishes the season at close to that rate, what a season that would be.
Yeah, and you got Guerrero starting to heat up a bit.
Yeah,
too, right?
I mean, and he's been consistently good all season so far. Same with Bichette, but
and they got
now
Jansen.
I think the last series, Guerrero really hit hot. And yeah, Jansen, good to see. He hit a home run.
In the ninth.
And yeah, so he's gonna start getting going.
Absolutely.
Brandon Belt,
Oh, yeah, another guy.
off to not a great start, I guess. He was with a new team, right? And I know
Yep.
he didn't get the reps in spring training that
Made
they
nervous,
wanted.
too, right?
But yeah, he didn't get off to a great start, but now he's got a couple home runs under his belt. See what I did there?
Yeah, that was good. I like that.
Yeah, so I think Belt's starting to get hot. We'll see. Maybe they move him up to the cleanup spot. Or maybe Chapman stays there, or Chapman maybe moves up to leadoff, depending on how it goes.
Yeah, you got to get your best hitter in the cleanup spot, right? That's very important.
And Varsho's a guy. He's been great defensively, and he's been great running the bases. I know his bat got off to a hot start that first week. He slowed down a little bit since, but I think the last couple games, he hit that clutch home run yesterday.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet. It was a long home run, like second deck.
If he starts to come alive, what a great addition that would be.
Yeah,
with everything else he does. I mean, we know he's not advertised as a contact hitter, but with the speed he brings and the power and the defense, he's still a pretty damn good player.
Yeah, for sure.
And
that's how they got him, right?
Yeah. I'm just trying to think about Kiermaier. Well, he's stayed hot.
Yeah, this guy is like unreal defensively, and he's gonna heat up with the bat too, right?
I think he's gonna stay hot.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I didn't expect him to be in the lineup every day when we acquired him, but if he's going to keep hitting it like this, no need to take him out.
No, exactly. He's proven his point. He wants to be here. He wants to win.
Merrifield, he's been that steady depth guy that we expected. He comes up big when you need him. You take him out of the starting lineup for a couple games. He comes in and pinch hits, does his job, or he plays multiple different positions on the field, and it doesn't affect him at all at the plate. Still steady with Merrifield.
Yeah.
Love to see that from him. That's a type of hitter that the Blue Jays have lacked the last few years.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I know there's BGO, another guy. We talked about him a lot leading into the season. And that first week he did get off to an okay start, but he's really struggled since then, which is tough to see. He's looking kind of like he did last year. So I hope things start to work out for him, but if not, I don't know what to expect necessarily.
Yeah, I think with Biggio, if you don't get off to a good start, then you might see him in a trade conversation, maybe in the trade deadline. You never know,
another
right?
team could use him and give him a bigger opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
And
so let's hope he
we'll
heats up and stays. So he's a good player. He's good to have on the team.
Yeah. And on another note, you're talking about the relief pitching. Let's see how he's going to fit in. Nate Pearson's gotten the call.
Exactly.
With Simber, who struggled his last couple outings, now on the IL, they've called up Nate Pearson, and he's been on fire in AAA.
Yeah, exactly.
So it'll be interesting to see. Again, if he doesn't fit into the rotation, he could be a great option from the bullpen.
Absolutely.
And considering the guys we already have and how they've been doing, Pop has options, but they're not going to. I don't think they should send him down. He's impressed. He's been the workhorse. He's gotten the innings when you need them. Not necessarily the highest leverage guy, just like Richards, but anytime earlier in the game, you need some innings, maybe multiple innings, he's always been the guy, and he's delivered.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't want to see him get sent down. I think Richards might have options still.
Yeah.
But he's pitched okay, so you don't need to see him sent down.
No, exactly.
So I just wonder if Pearson comes up here and he impresses.
Where's he?
I wonder who's gonna be gone.
Or where's
when Simber comes back.
Yeah, where's Pearson gonna fit in, right?
Yeah.
You know.
Or maybe he does fit in the rotation, in which case Kikuchi's impressed so far, so no need to really take him out of that role. Mm-hmm. Good problems to have. Too much depth, you know.
Yeah.
That's it's great to see, and it'll be great to see what happens now in the coming week or so. I remember last time we were here, we were talking a lot about the Angels series that we were heading into, and they had a great series. They had a great couple weeks. There's just been a couple games that have been a little bit crazy, and then the one in Houston they let get away.
Yeah.
But overall they haven't been. I mean, if we see this team go on a real heater, like they can, that would be great. But if they keep playing like this, it's also good.
Yep.
So, let's see if they can keep it up.
Keep our fingers crossed, good luck.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, that's that. We've got the Leafs tonight. We've got the Colts versus Battalion. We've got the Blue Jays playing against. What are we playing right now?
I think about that now. We're talking about so much.
No, it's Chicago White Sox.
That's
They're in
right,
Toronto.
yeah.
Charlie Montoyo's return.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be big.
And speaking of returns, we have Teoscar Hernandez's return to Rogers Center next Friday, which we're going to be there.
Yeah.
So great to see it. We'll be back here. Hopefully the Leafs are in the second round, and hopefully the Blue Jays are on a 4-game winning streak.
Absolutely. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Yep. Well, I don't know when this is going to be posted, but should be in the next few days. It's Monday night right now, and with that, we'll see you next time.
See you next time.